we interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Yo, it's Remember the Show. Slick with the flows, where the sparring can go. Who's gonna be on, man, you never will know. Guess you better tune in, cause we live from Chicago. Belal Muhammad, that's the king of the tweets. Jason Anik looks like John, step his hands to his feet. Every Thursday, we gon' give you a treat. It's Remember the Show, hit play and repeat. And retweet, and retweet, and retweet. And retweet, it's Remember the Show, hit play and repeat.
Yo, what's up? Go back in your live stream. Welcome to Belal Muhammad. Desperately. It was a big weekend for you for last week with Jared Gordon's wedding. The legendary Jared Gordon got married. Congratulations, Jared. Dude, the honeymoon he's on looks like it's bananas, by the way. So tell me about your weekend, bro.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was, man, like they're both Italian, so I didn't realize how much food it would be. It was like the craziest wedding I ever had. Like they literally had all you could eat lobster tails and crab legs for an appetizer. And I'm sitting there maxing on it. And I'm like, and then they had like a poke bowl station. So I'm sitting there all before the wedding, eating poke bowl, lobster tails. And then all of a sudden I go to the table and all of a sudden the guy's like, yeah, you want steak, chicken, or fish? And I'm like, bro, I just literally maxed out right now. I don't know what to do. And Jared's like, I told you you're going to eat. I told you you're going to eat good.
Love it. And you're a dessert guy. So I hope you saved room. I mean, I know you like sweets, so I hope you saved a little room.
Yeah, it was one of those. They had the whole dessert room and everything in there. It was a bad weekend for the diet, but I was able to get some good work in. I went to Sanford MMA, got some training in over there, and was able to run into Florida Heat a little bit. But other than that, it was cool. You know, I knew both of them for a while now, and it's just like cool seeing them happy and finally tying the knot. And I like seeing Jared happy. You could just tell that he's like genuinely in love with her, and I think it's gonna be great things, great future for both of them.
I love it. Well, I was happy to see that, and we obviously missed you, but big UFC continued to roll on with it. I love 267 last weekend, 268 this weekend. So I know we're going to get some questions from fans. We maybe get some meat on the bone here, but let's just, before we get into what's coming, I know we're always 5 days late on the Thursday, but UFC 267. Dude, free on ESPN Plus. Well, if you have the ESPN Plus subscription, but that was unbelievable. For old guys like me, started at 2:00, couldn't get enough. So we got to start with the first-time champion Glover Teixeira at age 42. Congratulations. Tell me your thoughts on the big man getting it done. He looks like the best he's ever has.
Yeah, this guy, man. I was talking to Ian Parker about it, and I was telling Ian, man, like this guy, he's ageless. He always gets better every single fight. And Ian's like, nah, John's going to walk through him. He's going to finish him. He's not going to be able to take him down. I'm like, dude, don't sleep on Glover. Like, he's that guy. You can tell he got that grown man strength. When you talk about grown man strength, he has that strength. And if he gets you guys onto any of these guys at 205 on the floor, I don't think there's going to be anybody that can get up from underneath him. Just his style of jiu-jitsu and his stand-up is good. You saw him rock John with that left hook. So he still has it, and it just shows that, like, the good guys, it's finally it's good seeing a good guy win. And you can just tell he's never one of those guys that ever needed to talk trash to promote himself or anything like that. He's a guy that's respected by all fighters. And it's just cool seeing somebody like that at age 42 finally accomplishing their goals. Because there was always so much talk about him before he was in the UFC, like, his visa issues and things like that. And you're like, after seeing him lose to John Jones, you're like, oh, well, we didn't get to see the real Glover. But I think we did. It all worked out perfectly. Now he's a champ. He accomplished that goal. And it's good seeing a guy like that win.
Well, and just so you know, you still got 9 years until you're 42. So if the prime can be 42, you got plenty of time. But anyway, that was just amazing to watch on so many levels. Thrilled for him. And also, too, it's not like that division's that stacked where he couldn't, hold that belt for a little bit. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, addressing this as question, right? A can opener. I mean, for me, it's more so a can opener is when somebody grabs your neck and you're in your guard. And they're pulling your neck. It's more of a neck crank. John should have opened his guard up and just kicked off his hip. I don't think he really had anything off his back. I'm assuming that he didn't think that Glover was going to be able to take him down. I know a lot of people underestimate Glover's wrestling, but like I said, I think he's like Daniel Cormier, where he has them tricky single legs, tricky trips. But I just feel like Jan didn't think that he was going to be able to get taken down to the ground at all because he didn't have nothing on the ground. He was just holding guard, and I was like, what the heck? I mean, there's not a lot of guys in the UFC that are really good off their back, but to be a champion, you should be good everywhere, and I just don't think he had that.
So Piotr Jan, and I love Corey Sandhagen. I talk about Corey Sandhagen, I feel like every other show. Cody and I texted a little bit. Piotr Jan, man, there's I know this is another trite phrase, but there are levels to this shit, and Piotr Jan looks like he's just on another level. Just amazing fight to watch. Both guys, just a privilege to watch it. He's got a piece of the belt now. Certainly the undisputed is still Sterling, so that one's going to happen again. Tell me about Piotr Jan from your eyes.
Man, honestly, that fight was amazing. Just seeing both of their striking, their footwork. I tweeted out, it's like poetry in motion because it's literally so much. Even Corey, when he's like in the first round, when he's moving his head out of the way, dodging these punches just by inches, and he's dodging those punches and cutting an angle and coming back with punches off of that. Just his footwork is just so good and it's so smooth. And Piotr Jan did the same thing. They both had that smooth footwork. Corey's a little bit more flashy, but Peter's more intact, but he does switch stances a lot. He does good off of both stances. He hits you off both sides. It's not just boxing. You saw him land a couple of good head kicks. But it just shows how good he really is. And he kind of has that Anderson Silva style where he always uses that first round to get his reads. Like he reads a lot, and all the best fighters have that. You see with Mayweather, a lot of his fights where he would take the first 2 to 3 rounds to read, and it'll be a slow start. But then all of a sudden, once he figures you out, then he turns it on. And that's the same thing with Piotr Jan. After I'm seeing him missing these big shots, I'm like, he's missing some haymakers, and a lot of guys get tired off of that. If you miss a punch, it's worse than landing 100 punches because your energy power drains. It's like in a UFC game, you'll see it a lot. If you're just throwing at air, that's the worst thing ever because you miss it, then all of a sudden you're out of position. You can get caught with something. You get angry, but Piotr Jan is just like a little robot. He just doesn't get tired at all. He builds as the fights gets longer, and he's just good everywhere. I mean, Corey came with a good game plan of trying to shoot on him, and I thought it was very slick on his end, and his ground is really good. I rolled with Corey. I trained with Corey before. But it just shows how good Piotr Jan is. He's good every single place in martial art.
And it's for people that don't appreciate this sport and the sport of MMA, and I'm not going to get in a soapbox here, but for those of, for me coming from just, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, and sort of, it's unbelievable to see certain athletes like Piotr Jan put all these skills together. It's because that's what, and that's why when you have these Jake Paul, it's like, get it. Let me get us one of these strikers, one of these real skilled professional strikers, I'm telling you, I'm so impressed with some of these UFC athletes, and Jan is really at the top of the list for me. All right, hit this one, Bully.
I mean, we saw in the first fight with Sterling, where Sterling came out super hard in that first fight. He kept put a whole lot of volume on him, and threw. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he threw over 100 punches in that first round in their first fight. And you're like, man, could Sterling keep up the same pace? And I think that Sterling's going to come up with a different game plan this next fight. I don't think he's going to start off that fast because he knows that Jan likes to read and lays back a little bit. I think Sterling has to be a lot smarter this time. I think it's going to be a little bit more heavy grappling, not as much striking, because like I said, Jan's a slow starter with his striking. So if Sterling can come in there, catch him with some sort of takedown, he tried to pop a weird, and then if Sterling catches your back, there's not a lot of guys can get out from underneath it. I don't think that it'll happen, but I think that Sterling needs to come up with that type of game plan, like a tricky takedown or a tricky knock him off balance, jump on his back, because that's the only way I see Sterling getting a finish in a fight. I mean, it could happen in the decision. Sterling could take him down a couple times. We saw him take him down, but Jan is just so good at getting up and defending takedowns and getting his own takedowns on you.
So there was another fight that took place, I believe, around 170 pounds that night between, I think the Leech was there and Khamzat Chimaev. I don't even know where to begin with this one. Let's start and let's just talk about Chimaev, the fight itself, and then we'll certainly get into some of the other avenues. So tell me about the man and the fight, and 4-0 in the UFC, took care of GM3, obviously, back in the day, middleweight, welterweight. Talk to me about this guy.
I mean, obviously a great performance. I don't think you can't have a better 4 performances in the UFC. I know his first 2 opponents weren't that great, but still to be 4 fights into the UFC and
1 strike landed on him, Cody said. Yeah.
One strike landed on you in 4 fights. I don't care who you are, who you're fighting. That's next level. And as you can see, I mean, GM3 is one of the best middleweights in the world right now. Obviously, guys get caught, and I don't think that was I don't look at that fight and be like, oh, he's going to walk through GM3 if he fights GM3 again. That'll never happen again. I just don't think that'll happen. But seeing what he did to Li Jingliang, like, it just shows this guy could do it all. And his grappling is there, his striking is good, and he's smart. Like, I mean, if you're a bettor, or if you're a coach, or any of the analysts, you looked at that fight and you're thinking that if he takes him to the ground, he's going to dominate him. Li Jingliang, he's been dominated by Jake Matthews. He's been dominated in ground by a lot of guys with grappling. We saw Magny dominate him with grappling, and Magny's not the strongest welterweight at all. So the fact that he defended that first takedown and then you get picked up. If I get picked up and somebody's looking and talking to somebody else, I'm gonna give him a little scrape in the eye, poking the eye or something. Like, there's no man alive that's gonna be picking me up, walking me to a corner and laughing as he's doing it.
Well, there's no way you're scraping anyone's eye or poking anyone's eye. We know that. Well, this question, Naveed, I hope you're pronouncing your name right, but I'm glad you went here because I don't really want to talk about the fight. This is the meat and potatoes I want to get into. So, Belal, being a fellow welterweight, what's your assessment of Khamzat's skills? He's number 10. Is he number 10, by the way? I looked today. I didn't see.
Yeah, he's number 10.
Okay. You're number 9. How do you feel he'd fare against a grappler on your level?
Well, that's a great question. And
it is.
And that's the test that I think he actually needs. He needs a guy like me to fight, a guy that could actually defend takedowns. I have a 90% takedown defense rate in the UFC. I don't even know who took me down, but it's probably on accident. But
Damian Maia tried.
Oh yeah, he tried 20 times, and I defended him. And we've seen him take down some of the best grapplers in the UFC. And to fight a guy like me who has cardio and can defend all your takedowns, then it's going to be, all right, we're going to take you to deep waters. I know Magny comes out.
We lost you.
I know Magny came out and said, I could take him to deep waters. But like I said, Magny's a big talker now. And he just talks, spits hot air because you're not going to take nobody to deep waters, Magny. Chiesa dominated you on the ground, picked you up for, I think it was a 5-round fight. And if Chiesa dominated you, you got dominated by RDA on the ground, got an arm triangle on you right away. I mean, Khamzat's going to do the same thing. I feel like that he did at Li Jingliang with you. So I don't think that's the next matchup for him. If you really want to test him, if you really want to see where he's at, I think you got to fight a guy like me who's good everywhere, and we'll get a good read on him. And I want to feel that strength. Everybody's talking about the big bad wolf. Let me see that big bad wolf. I want to feel it.
Like, I know you do.
And I'm not the type that's going to hate on him. Obviously, I think he's good. I'm not going to sit there and say this guy sucks. But for me, I love challenges. I love fighting guys that are at that level. He has the hype right now, and he has the biggest name in the division. So why wouldn't I want to fight him? You see guys talking, oh, you can't do this. He'll kill you, yada, yada, yada. But I'm a fighter. I was not in this sport to just be in the UFC. I'm in this sport to be a champion. And to be a champion, you got to fight the best guys. And I'm always looking at the best guys, trying to fight the best guys in the division, no matter who they are.
Well, and you were willing and barked a little bit about fighting the Leech even when he was a little closer to your ranking. It's, you know what I mean? There's no one that you wouldn't.
Yeah, I'll show you my text. I was literally going to post all my text messages. I've literally asked for Kamaru Usman before he was champion when he was supposed to fight Ponzinibbio, and I called Ali, and he was like, "Yeah, ask John Shelby," and then that one didn't go through. I've asked for Kobe Covington when he had guys pull out. Like, I've been trying to call these guys out from the beginning, and I've called out Maia 5 years ago from the beginning when these guys need a fight. So, like, I'm asking for these top guys. I'm not sitting there standing back and people are like, oh, why aren't you tweeting out about him? I was like, I don't need to tweet out about him. I asked my manager for him. I showed you the timestamp of the exact time I'm asking somebody for the fight. If you're serious about a fight, you're not going to tweet about it. You're gonna ask a guy that could actually get you the fight.
I loud and clear. So in terms of that noise, and I know you're not necessarily breaking anything. I remember the show. I did see Chimaev maybe a couple hours ago, tweet out something, see you soon. I just hope we see Belal Muhammad soon in the octagon, whether it's Chimaev or someone else. Because I got to be honest, I saw you put a tweet out there. We're talking about Chimaev. Now it's looking like January. So now it looks like I'm going to have to let that calendar flip. Unfortunately, it's looking, huh?
No, I mean, I just called him out in January because I figured that he had to get his vaccination. I know he has to get vaccination to come to the U.S. So I just figured that's when he would come back. I mean, UFC makes anything happen, so I'm pretty sure they could get him that Johnson & Johnson shot anywhere. They'll find that other shot somewhere around here, get him that one shot that'll come to the U.S. I just knew with the vaccination mandates that I didn't think he would be able to come in December.
I hear you. Well, John and I talked a lot about Chimaev this week, and certainly you and John and I talked. We all went back and forth in a lot of different ways. And I think what's interesting is if you sort of separate yourself, right? And so he said to me, he said, forget Belal. You can't answer Belal. He's like, who do you want to see Chimaev fight next? He says to me. Before I saw any of his noise, anything you put out there, because you know me, I'm not really on social media. And so that's really the question for me, because I'm biased. You're the only name that pops into my head. And there's a few different guys. So I guess I will ask you this, other than yourself. I mean, do you like the Gilbert matchup? Do you like the Luque matchup? I mean, there are matchups for yourself. It's sort of a conflict of interest, even asking you this question,
Yeah. I mean, if I'm the matchmaker, obviously he has all the juice right now. So like, and this sport, it's all about momentum. And obviously for the UFC, they're trying to book that Nate Diaz fight, because if he goes out there, finishes Nate Diaz, he has all of Nate Diaz's hype. And we know Nate Diaz's last fight on his contract. All right, well, we'll give you a good going away present, give you Khamzat Chimaev, and let him walk through you. And then that gives, if he gives another dominating performance, you put him to the title shot right away. And then just all that hype being 11, 10 and 0, he'll be 11 and 0, 5 and 0 in the UFC. Then it's like, oh, well, he deserves the title shot, and people want to see him against Usman. So I feel like in the UFC's eyes, they're not going to give him a guy that's going to challenge him. They're going to give him a guy he could get another dominating finish. So if I'm looking at it from a promoter side, I'm going to give him Nate Diaz or Neil Magny. Let him go in there, get a quick finish. If he fights Nate Diaz, finishes him, then you could skip Leon Edwards, because you told Leon Edwards, hey, you almost got knocked out by Nate Diaz. This guy finished them. Why do you think you're ahead of him? This guy's undefeated. He has a hype, and the UFC don't care about it. It's all about who's going to make you that money.
Well, yeah, and ultimately, like, there's different circumstances. I mean, like Chandler goes in Bellator for a decade, comes over one fight, and he gets a title shot. So it's not. Do you know what I mean? It's like the eyeball. Is Chandler that much more deserving of a title shot much quicker than necessarily a guy like Chimaev? I don't know. I'm not the right guy to ask, but it's not all based on merit in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, which is why for you just got to win your next fight, whoever it is.
That's why it's all about hype. It's all about momentum. And like I said, I'm that guy that's silently working his way up to the top. Beginning of this year, I said I was going to be ranked. I ended up getting ranked. I ended up fighting the number 9 guy in the world, beating the number 9 guy in the world, beating the legend and Damian Maia. So if I get one more in before the end of this year, that'll be perfect. Otherwise, I'm in the top 10, and I'm starting next year, top 10, ready to go.
So for those of us regular folk who don't train year round, in a situation like this, beginning of November for you, is there, and I know you train all year round, I know you don't abuse substances, I know you treat your body great, but is there any part of you with holiday seasons coming along, Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holiday seasons, or any part of you that shifts focus in any way that, if it goes into 2022, so be it, I've had a good 2021, or does that not really impact you?
No, for me, I'm always hungry. I'm always trying to get another fight no matter what. And I just want to keep climbing that ladder, because like you said, there's guys out here that are taking the spotlight right away by your fights. And it's guys that are, it's what have you done for me lately? So it's like, I want to stay in the fans' eyes as much as possible. So if I could get as many fights as possible in a year, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to take advantage of it. That's why I like to stay in the gym, stay active, and stay training all year round, because you never know where you're going to get that call. And it's like, if you do get a big call and you say, oh, I'm not ready, let's wait for 2022. And then all of a sudden your time gets passed up, and then you never know what could have been if you were ready. And it's like, when opportunity knocks, you got to be ready to answer that door. And that's why I want to stay at that point in my career. And especially right now, being in the rankings, you don't want to have any slip ups where it's like, oh, I could have took this opportunity, but I blew it. Or I could have took this opportunity, but I wanted to eat Thanksgiving meal and go have fun instead of be in the gym training, get better every time.
And I asked the question because I know there's no chance that everyone's like you. There's no way. Plenty of fighters that would answer that question differently if they're being honest. I would think. So how about Islam Makhachev? I mean, all I got to do is say a guy's name. I mean, this guy's going to compete for the title next, you'd have to think. I mean, just.
Yeah, looking at how much he dominated that fight. Like, there's levels to this, and he's showing now that his level of grappling's higher than all these other guys. I mean, the only guy that I think that could compete with him on the ground is Charles Oliveira. But I've always heard about him. I've always heard saying all of his training partners and everybody, oh, he's better than Habib on the ground. His ground is way better than his. And it's not because of the ground and pound. It's more because he attacks submissions. Habib will go in there, ground and pound your face, talk trash to you. Islam will go in there, could attempt 5 different submissions on you, but all he needs is one. And the tightness of that submission right away, less than a minute to fight a guy like Dan Hooker, who was top 5, fought the best in the world, and you never seen anybody go in there and dominate him like that. I know Chandler and Gaethje are both talking that they just earned that title shot, they earned the name, and they want that next fight next. But like I said, this game is about momentum. This game is about who's got all the hype right now. And right now, Islam got all the hype. Unless one of these guys go out there Saturday night, get a crazy knockout, crazy finish, Islam got all the juice right now. And I think that he'll be able to skip these two unless, there's no possible way this fight's going to be boring. But if one of these guys get a big finish and they get on the mic, they say the right things, they will get the title shot. But other than that, it's going to go to Islam.
Well, speaking of juice, nice juice out of you. 12-2 last week on the Bix, right?
Man,
12-2.
Yeah, we had a couple slip ups, but it's all right. We'll do better this week.
What were the slip ups, by the way?
That knockout in the beginning, Gamazat, who got knocked out by the Polish guy.
Okay,
and then I picked Sandhagen.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So, and when you make your picks, is there ever I know there's certain circumstances where you're close to certain people, and like on the Anik and Florian podcast, sometimes Kenny Florian, he's picking Big Al Iaquinta this week, because, he's Ray's guy.
Yeah.
Is there any part of you, did you really believe Sandhagen was going to beat Jan every ounce of your being?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't one of those where I thought he was going to go in there and dominate him, but I knew that he had the skill to do it. I still think that Sandhagen will be champion, just with his style and his movement. And I thought that even with a longer camp, not saying that he would go in there and finish him or anything like that, but I think he would do better because he got a little bit tired toward the end of the fight. And I think that just came from being in a shorter camp. But I thought that his skill-wise, he could compete with any of these guys in the world right now.
I agree. All right, Bone Marrow. Should we get to the Bix? We got to make that nickname stick for Cody. Bone. It's a great Bone Marrow. It's a great nickname. UFC 268. Giddy up. This card, man. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this card. Usman versus Covington, live from Madison Square Garden. So, Cody, John's wife is going to the fight. So you are not going. Is that correct, Mr. Marrow?
Yeah, his work wife will not be there.
I knew you were eating. See, I knew he was munching. His work wife will not be there. I love it. Bully's Bix making some money. That's right. All right. So we're going to pick 4 fights, but I just got a couple fights that I just have to mention to you. Al Iaquinta, Bobby Green in Madison Square Garden. Any quick thoughts on that? We're not going to pick it.
I always loved watching Bobby Green fight and Al Iaquinta, and it's good seeing Al Iaquinta back. Coming off a couple hard losses, but I think this fight's going to be all action right here. This is going to be one of those fights that could steal the show, and seeing Al fight in Madison Square Garden is going to be really cool.
And James Krause, on the Anik and Florian podcast, that's his best bet of the week, Bobby Green.
Really?
Just for your information. Yeah. And I think, Ken Flo went Iaquinta. Yes, Cody?
Well, shout out the Ran Longo fight team,
okay.
And another thing. So Billy Q, right? So I was at the Apex when he fought. I think it was in July. So he had fight of the night, right? And he comes over to Dana and he's like, dude, it's been 5 in a row in the Apex. He's like, you got to get me at MSG. You got to get me at MSG. So not only Dana gets him at MSG, but he's on the main card, which I love. So we're not picking that fight, but good for Billy Q getting that main card slot. Shane Burgos, that's a great fight, huh?
Man, that's a banger right there. That's another, this whole card. I don't think there's not one fight on there that I'm like, let me pass that one up. Every single fight on there is amazing.
Dude, and Ian Gary, right? I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I went to UFC.com. He doesn't even have his picture on the UFC website. This guy could be a star. Yes, Mr. Merrill.
How the fuck else would you pronounce Ian Gary? What do you mean? Garry?
I could be Ian. Come on
Ian
now.
Gary. Ian Gary.
I'm going to find you an Ian. Correct me if I'm wrong. Broadcaster Ian Eagle. IAN. Come on now. I'm just trying to get everyone to know it's Belal, and I was thinking about Chael Sonnen. If you told Chael, all right, Chael, it's like 2 first names, Bill and Al. I know it's not really Bill.
That's a good point.
You just Just say Bill and Al. Bilal.
Yeah.
Bilal. That's fine. That's better
I'm
than
just trying to figure out
Blahal.
where he got the H. Like, I don't know.
I know. And I love when he adds the L right after the first B. The
Yeah.
Blahal. That's my favorite. All right. So, it feels like it should be the Trevor Whitman card. I mean, does Trevor Whitman call all the shots, right? He's like, I want all three of my fighters fighting for belts on the same night. I love it. All right. So anyway. All right. So the first fight we're going to pick, let me move forward. Yeah. So first fight is Frankie Edgar fighting in Madison Square Garden, Marlon Cheeto Vera. So play's going to be going insane. Frankie's lost 3 of 4. Obviously, the flying knee 28 seconds in, courtesy of Corey Sandhagen back in February. The answer just turned 40, 28 years of age, I believe, is his Cheeto Vera. He's won 2 of 3. Certainly look like guys on different, one up and coming, one sort of on the back end. But Frankie has shocked the world before. Who do you like? What a fight.
Yeah, but when you're saying Frankie's on it coming down, but like, look who's the guys Frankie's fighting. Frankie's fighting the top guys. I think wasn't Holloway one of those losses. I think his last one was Sandhagen. So he's fighting.
And he had the big win, Munoz, right? Is that?
Yeah, he had a big win against Munoz before that. He looked good in that fight.
Yep.
So I don't think he's really on a decline. I think he's just fighting these top dogs. I don't think that he should be fighting top 5 guys right now. It should be the 10 to 15 right there. Get a couple wins under your belt. And, he's done everything in the sport that needs to be done. He's been a champion. He's fought at 45. He's fought at 35. So he's a legend. And I think that stylistically, he's a bad matchup for Cheeto because, Cheeto's pretty good everywhere, but we've seen him get controlled on the ground by Jose Aldo, and he lost that fight. And I just felt like he got a little bit angry when Aldo was just holding him on the ground and, acting like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But Aldo controlled his back the whole third round and won that fight with that. And I think that Frankie could do the same thing. I think Frankie could take him down and control him on the ground, hit some good ground and pound. I don't think he's going to finish him, but I think that Frankie could definitely win a decision here.
I love it. And wouldn't it be great in New York? And I hear you on the decline. And I guess it's interesting with these guys that become champions at a young age, Weidman and Edgar and some of these other names that come to mind. It is interesting because you're right. Who am I to say that he's on a decline? Yet the champion, I mean, how long ago was that when he was winning belts? Long time.
Yeah, and he was winning belts at 55. And I just right. Once you're that champion for so long, it's like every single fight after that's going to be a wolf. Every single fight after that's going to be a shark. You're not going to get no layups. And they're always going to be trying to make these young guys make their name off of you because you've been in sport for so long and everybody knows who you are. So you have to stay on your 1 and 2s the whole time. And I just think a couple of his things, like I said, that Sandhagen knee was just out of nowhere and you got caught and you got dropped. I don't think it'll ever happen again. I don't think that he'll be able to beat Sandhagen dominantly or anything like that, but he'll definitely put up a way better fight than that first one.
I like it. All right. So the dog in the first one. So the pay-per-view opener is a nice treat. Could be a main event. I mean, look at this. Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. So, I heard certain rumblings all over the place, certainly seeming if Chandler's going to get it done, might need to get it done early as the fight progresses, might favor Gaethje. So one real quote from Chandler that I just think is interesting. And this is paraphrase. This isn't paraphrase, but this is a quote from another thing he said. So he's talking about preparing for Gaethje. He led me to waking up early before my alarm every single day. Like, he really respects Gaethje's power, and for good reason. So I'm just fascinated by this matchup. There's a lot of layers to it. Certainly the winner could emerge as a number 1 contender. Who do you got in this banger?
Yeah, this fight, like, I'll literally just pay for the pay-per-view just for this fight right here. And both of them at the press conference, like, there's a respect there. But there's I'm not afraid of you though. Like there's definitely a level of respect from both sides. Like, oh, we both can knock each other out, but we'll see who's going to take that first step back type thing. And it's always fun seeing Justin in a press conference because he just keeps it real with you. He doesn't fake. He doesn't have to make anything up or act like he hates you or anything like that. But like you said, Trevor Whitman, great mind. But it's interesting because, when you have 3 fighters with such big fights all on the same card, it's like, who do you give your attention to all camp? And I know there's obviously there's going to be some at one point where it's you're going to be doing a lot of studying, this, and this, but there's going to be one person that's getting the most attention compared to the other 2, I feel like. And I mean, unless he just the Elon Musk of MMA and could freaking just work 24 hours, and he very well could be. But
Right.
I don't know. I just feel like Justin style, he really doesn't need that coach or that game plan. He's always going to come out. He's going to do the same thing. Them hard low kicks. He's going to stay in your face, not take a step back and break you. We saw against Habib where he got taken down, and people were like, "Oh, well, he doesn't have no jiu-jitsu, or his wrestling's not as good as people thought." But you're going against the GOAT and Habib, there's not a lot of guys that are going to get up from underneath him. And I just don't feel like Michael Chandler has the wrestling to be able to do that, or the strength to be able to do that to Gaethje. I think we saw against Hooker, Michael Chandler got low kicked a lot in that fight, and that was Hooker backing up. And that left his chin out there because he was being more afraid of the wrestling. Gaethje's not going to be afraid of the wrestling. He's not going to be backing up at all. He's going to stay in your face, low kick you hard. And I think that it's going to be a finish for Gaethje probably in the second or third round.
Well, it's interesting what you bring up about the camp, and I do think one of the huge benefits for Gaethje is Whitman fight night, and how he's benefited him sort of in pacing himself and using his jab and sort of, having his strikes be more calculated and controlling, I think help his cardio. I know he has cardio, but what's up? Oh, that's funny. You were smiling because what's up?
Oh, I'm smiling to present myself. I mean, I know I'm listening on
I
camera.
know. I like it.
The question was, we have talked ad nauseum about leg kicks on this show in particular. And did you see what Michael Chandler said in response to somebody who was like, "How are you going to defend the kicks from Gaethje?" Did you see this? He was like, "I'm just going to eat them. I'm just going to fight him, and I'm just going to eat the kicks." And so I thought that was pretty funny based on what Belal said when he was like, part of the leg kick defense is just being tough, like being able to take leg kicks,
But I mean, everybody I've known that's trained with Gaethje or fought Gaethje, they say his leg kicks are a different leg kick. Like he doesn't even train. They say like his bone density in his shin or something is like a different type of bone density. It's crazy, dude. And it's gonna be interesting. I mean, people could say they'll take those leg kicks, but when you can't walk on your front foot, and Chandler's one of those guys that's heavy on his feet, heavy on his legs, and you can't walk. We've seen him do it to the top guy. We saw even the fights that he's lost. Poirier was at the point where he couldn't walk no more. And, he ended up catching him. And same thing with Eddie Alvarez. Eddie Alvarez at the point where he couldn't walk no more. But they ended up just catching him. And I don't think that Chandler just has I don't think he's just going to be able to do that. I think he's going to be finished on it, in my opinion. I
can't wait for this one. All right. So co-main event, another great one. And this one's so close on paper. This goes back and forth. It's really a pick 'em. Zhang Weili, Rose Namajunas. So Rose, man, I look at she only fights the best fighters. It is unbelievable how she just never fight. Everyone's a big name on her record. I'm excited here. If Rose can get this done here against Zhang Weili, she is really gonna, I think, vault herself. Not only amongst women, but as really one of the most accomplished fighters in UFC history. This is a big moment for her to get another belt here. Triple C getting involved with Zhang Weili a little bit, so it's close. Yeah, so Rose even money now. It's amazing. She was a slight favorite. So I'm fascinated by this. I've seen all sorts of people on all different sides of this. What side's Bully on? Coming off 12-2 last week.
It's crazy how they're not giving Rose no love. She's a champion. Right? She finished her that fight. And it wasn't one of those where, to me, it wasn't like a lucky kick. It was, she set it up perfectly. And I thought it was one of those where they saw it in tape. They saw that she drops her hand sometimes. And she fit it in perfectly. But I think that Rose is she's a better striker. She's more smoother. Her jab is really good. Her stand-up her kicks are very good. She's got really good footwork, and she's getting better every single fight, and she's growing every single fight. And I think her jiu-jitsu is better than Zhang Weili's too. The thing is now Weili's working with Henry Cejudo. Is she going to bring a new wrestling background to the mix? But I don't think she had enough time with him. I think it's more so now Weili, she did a lot of blaming that last fight. I feel like, when you leave camps right after you lose a title, you start training with a new gym. It's like you're putting it all on somebody else, not yourself. Not, we messed up as a team. We messed up as a group. Let's grow together, get better together. It's like you got to the championship with that team. Why are you leaving just after one loss? Mm-hmm. It's not like it was anything. It's not like you got dominated for 5 rounds and it's like, I need to find better training partners. I need to find better training. You got caught. So I didn't think that she needed a move, but the fact that she did, it just tells me that she blames it on something else or someone else. And I don't like that mindset. And I don't know if it's maybe just mentally weak thing. And she goes out there, she starts getting beat up a little bit more. The second time around, is she gonna mentally break and then get caught again? We saw that with Joanna. Joanna, when she fought Rose the second time, she thought the first time was a fluke, and Rose second time dominated her for a decision. Rose I think she's 3-0 in rematches. So it just shows that Rose and Trevor Whitman, they figure you out, and they realize you. They realize your timing when you're fighting somebody again. You realize their power. You realize what works, what didn't work the first time. And I think that Rose is going to do it again this time. I don't think it's going to be as good of a fight, because I mean she finished her in the first round, but I think that she's going to put on a clinic, and I think she's going to piece her up really bad.
Thug Rose, I hear you. So you pushed out a tweet like a couple hours ago about Trevor Whitman. I was dying laughing just about how emotionless he is. Cody can probably find it, but dude, the footage of that dude watching huge finishes by his champions. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Just ice, no reaction whatsoever out of the dude. It just blows my mind. And your tweet just saying basically, how he's just emotional and how he'll have juice for 2 more fights after Gaethje, right?
It's crazy because I'm sitting there like, after one fight of cornering, I'm yelling and I'm sitting there hyped up, and it's like, I need to take a nap after I cornered somebody once. And now you could have just imagined being in the corner of Justin Gaethje, who's just going to be throwing bombs. It's going to be going back and forth. You're going to be excited to just be able to watch it. Like, being as a coach, I'm going to be thinking I'm a fan because I'm going to be watching the whole time. And it's going to be bombs away. And then all of a sudden you're like, I got to bring that same energy, bring that same mindset 2 fights later for Rose in a 5-round title fight. And that's the thing too. I think that's a key too, is where Rose, she gets emotional and she has a lot of anxiety. I feel like she's talked about her problems, anxiety problems, how she doesn't like fighting sometimes. And obviously you need to be that coach that's going to go back there and not bring emotions into it. You're not going to bring any negative energy into it. So for him, if say Justin loses that fight, do you go back there and what kind of energy you have? You have to bring a certain type of energy to Rose. You can't mess up with her, and you can't mess up her focus. So that's another key that Trevor Whitman has to worry about and think about when he's cornering these fights, and that people really don't realize too, is when you're fighting with teammates and you see one of your teammates in a war, if they're winning, it's a different level. It hypes up the whole team, and it makes you that much better. Right. But if you lose one, say the guy before you loses, like, what the heck what do we do now? Am I going to lose? We were both training the same way. Did we not work hard enough or something like that? All these thoughts go through your head. Like my last fight, I rode on the bus with
Jamal Hill,
Paul Craig. Yeah.
Jamal Hill.
What's his name? Huh? Jamal Hill, Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill. Yeah, we rode on the bus together, and we're hyped up, and all of a sudden he gets tapped out by a submission guy, and I'm sitting in the back like, dang, I'm going against Damian Maia. This guy just got his arm broken. Is that going to happen to me too? We're in a bad luck bus, and that stuff just triggers your head. You're like, what the heck are you going? I can only imagine if your teammate loses.
Hey, well, good. Whatever you did, you flipped your brain around the right way. You could be sure. The main event of the evening. One of Belal's favorite fighters, if you don't know, Colby Covington. He can't get enough. But so, dude, Usman, if he's not the greatest if he's not the best pound for pound fighter right now in the UFC, it's hard to make an argument for anyone else. He is one of the most accomplished in UFC history, bar none. This rematch, is it crazy to me? Like, I'm looking, like, I'm just gonna ask you this: does Colby deserve this unequivocally? This rematch? I'm sorry, it's probably the wrong time to bring this up, but I don't know. I'm just doing a little research today. Like, I don't know why this is happening. He beat Woodley, I guess. And sorry, answer that.
No, I do not think he deserved this fight. I don't think he's earned it. Obviously, the first fight was good, but like, there's other guys that I felt like deserved way more. There's other guys that are actually streaking, guys that are staying active. Usman's fought 3 times since that fight. Colby stayed on the sidelines. Like, if you lose the title fight and you want to get back to it, like, you got to be hungry. You got to want to take fights, as many fights. We saw Gilbert Burns lose, took on Wonderboy right away next, and he's calling out all these next guys right away because he knows he needs to get back there. Exactly. Colby just did that and stayed on the sidelines, kept saying he deserved it. I mean, obviously the first fight was a good fight, and maybe that's why the UFC wants it, and they know that Colby's gonna talk. I don't know how the pay-per-view is gonna sell, but when guys want to see that type of fight, and you could show the highlights of it. And Usman just gets another rematch, and we saw what he did the last rematch that he had with Masvidal, and he finished in that time. And I think that's another Trevor Whitman thing where it's like Trevor Whitman figures these guys out. He sees little tendencies they do, and that wasn't a lucky punch. That was he set it up with that jab, and he pulled that arm down, and he knocked Masvidal out. A guy who's never been knocked out like that before. A guy who you think is going to outstrike him pretty easily. He has 10 times better striking than Usman, but we saw his last couple fights. Him against Gilbert Burns, he knocked him out with a jab. Him against Masvidal, he knocked him out with that cross. And he already knocked out Kobe when his striking wasn't at that level. So what do you think he's going to do to Kobe now that he's been active? He's striking's getting better every single time. He's got more time with Trevor Whitman, who's just taking his game to a whole new level. I think it's going to be a bad night in office for Kobe. I know Kobe's trying to make it real. At the press conference, I think he brought up his dad a couple times and saying some real ignorant things. And Usman didn't get emotional at all. You can just tell that he was just like knew what was going to come of it. And I just feel like he's just going to put a whooping on him Saturday.
Yeah, hard for me to disagree. It's interesting. James Krause made a point that I'm always looking for sort of shakeups in these UFC divisions, and I think that he made the point, if Colby wins, just be nice to see the madness. I don't see it necessarily happening, but it is kind of fun to see these, like when guys become champs, like Teixeira this weekend. It's nice to see things sort of shake up a little bit. I'm not bored with Usman by any means, and
he's a guy that stays active. That's what I like about him, because he's not the guy that's just sitting there waiting for these big money fights, or let me fight McGregor or this guy or that guy, or I earned this more now. I'm not going to fight out. I'm going to stay till next year. Like, this is probably like his third fight of the year. And to have a champion that active is crazy. And it's cool to see a guy like that, especially in my division, that's staying active, staying in there, and he's bringing attention to the division and showing that, he's a guy that wants to be the greatest of all time in the division. He's trying to go for that GSP. He's trying to erase his name as being the best welterweight. When people talk about who's the best welterweight, he wants to top him, and he's getting there by staying active and beating all these top contenders that are coming up. And you got to respect that. I don't care whether you like him or not. He's a dominant champion, and he's getting better every single fight, and he's showing how much better he's getting every single fight.
I would love to see you fight that dude in the blue and pink suit at some point.
I'm wondering what happens if he loses this fight. Where does he go from here? Because I think that I honestly don't think he will fight. I think he'll go to WWF or
look right there, right? As you're saying it, I hear you.
And that's the thing too. What I get scared about with the shakeup, because if Kobe somehow does win this, he's gonna be one of those guys that's out like 2 years asking for more billions of dollars. Let me film this movie real quick or something.
Yeah, well, I don't mean to cut you off, but the good thing is Dana don't play that game. You know what I mean? He'll throw an interim belt, and and big picture, I kind of, you as someone who likes staying active have to appreciate that. I understand Francis Ngannou isn't thrilled how that took place, but a guy that likes to stay active like you, I'm sure he wouldn't let that happen. I don't think anymore, Dana, especially how stacked that division is in the top 10.
Yeah, but it's one of those two where I know he'll give an interim belt, but it's like, I want to fight Kobe. I want to, and I think he'll pull a Henry Cejudo. I think he'll retire if he wins, and even if he loses, I think he's gonna retire too. I don't think that he will, because losing to the champ twice, it's gonna be hard for you to make a case to get that title fight again. And I don't think that he'll fight anybody else. I think that if he doesn't really have a chance at winning the title, I think he's gonna go to something else.
Fascinating. Well, we'll know Saturday night. So
his only ways of winning, I think, to me, are for there. I don't really see a lot of ways for him to win. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be able to finish him. It'll go to his only way of winning is decisioning him. And I don't think that his high volume striking that he tried to bring out the first fight is going to be enough. He could try to wrestle him, but he's not going to be able to take him down. But if he does high volume wrestling, punches the shots. She didn't shoot. I don't think either one of them shot once that first fight, but maybe they respected each other too much. But you have to show them something different. If you're just going to come out there thinking you're going to strike with them, you're going to get knocked out. So you at least have to attempt to shoot on him, even pull guard on him or something. Just show him something different, weird, to make a little shakeup, because that first fight was all kickboxing, and it was one of those where neither one of them really had that great of kickboxing in that fight. It was just both of them banging with each other, and because neither one of them were going to knock each other out because they didn't really have that much power. But now Usman worked on his power. Now Usman got that technique that can knock you out. All it takes is one shot. He's knocking guys out with jabs now. He realized it now, and when you had that confidence of knocking guys out, it just makes your stand-up that much better because it's possible. I knocked out Gilbert Burns, who hasn't been knocked out in a while. I knocked out Masvidal, who's never been knocked out. So now it gives him that extra confidence that I know I'm fighting Colby Covington, who really doesn't have that much power, so I can stand right in front of him, take his shots, and give him one right back a lot harder.
I tell you boys are a different breed, man. All y'all. But that division, man, I I hope it just keeps moving forward, and I know it will. So we're talking next week. Hopefully there'll be more. Certainly Ali's going to be a busy man on Saturday night. You can be sure.
Yeah. He's got a lot of guys there.
Well, anyway, we're not going to go an hour and 45 minutes like the Anik and Florian podcast did this week, Director Mero. That had to be interesting for you. A nice, clean 46 minutes for you tonight to remember the show. So hit up Remember the Shop, buy Bully's gear. Anik and Florian podcast has Remember the Show gear. That's what I'm supposed to do, right? Promote the merch at the end of the show, right? That's what we do. Anyway, dude, I'm excited to talk about these fights next week. More excited, hopefully, for an announcement of one of your fights. Anyway.
For sure. Everybody else doing Twitch this Saturday with CM Punk and Jens Pulver.
That's right.
During the fights. So that should be cool. That's going to be the first time trying that. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
And you know Punk well.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It'll be cool doing it with him. Never met Jens, but Hall of Famers. It'll be cool to talk with him. So just watching the Peyton Manning and his brother do it on for Monday Night Football is always cool. So it'll be cool to just get that feel for it.
Well, I'm wondering, but like, what do you have planned? Like, don't reveal your plans, but like, are you making some like prank plans, or like someone gonna come in and like pretend to murder you or something during the thing, like Halloween theme? Like, you have some.
You just gave me an idea now. Now I got a plan for it.
Yeah, you're spontaneous. You don't need see that's right in your wheelhouse. Something like that, I think. Anyway, we appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll be back next Thursday night for Belal Muhammad. I'm Jason Anik. Our director's Cody Mero. Remember the show. Thank you all. Have a good weekend.
Peace.